What's up, my friends, and welcome into the PHLY Phillies Podcast. As always, we broadcast live, this time, however, from the Xfinity Studios. And we're brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 and Trumark Financial Credit Union. Head on over to any one of their 24 branch locations or shop at trumark.com/PHLY to get started today. New setup today. We had to maneuver some things around, so we got the studio upgrade today. I love this studio. I won't lie to you. There's something informal about just kind of lounging on the couches, but I love this studio. This is my favorite studio that I've ever worked at any place. I've worked in radio, I've worked in, digital. I love this studio. I think the brick wall is super cool. I don't know, there's just something about this place. I love being in here. I wish we were in here a little bit more frequently. But welcome into the PHLY Phillies Podcast. A happy Monday to each and every one of you. I really appreciate you all hanging out in the chat. Tyler Zulli here, Ethan Hartley producing today's show. We'll talk to Ethan in just a little bit. We have a lot to get to. Some big news happened this weekend, including the non-tenders of 33 players on Major League rosters, including one in particular that could make a lot of sense for the Phillies. A big trade went down yesterday between the Mets and the Texas Rangers. The Rangers are going to be a big conversation piece. Quite frankly, we probably should have had some of our friends from DLLS Rangers on the show today just to chat a little bit. But the Rangers are going to be big in today's podcast. And then later in the show today, I was thinking about the Phillies bullpen this past weekend, and I think the big names are in place. I think the big pieces are there. I think the top five very conceivably are in place, unless they move one of the lefties like we talked about recently. I think the three lefties are in place. Joan Duran and Orion Kerkering, I think, are in place. I really don't think they're going to make too many bullpen moves, but I certainly do think they're going to make a bullpen move. So I was thinking about three different relievers in that mid-tier. And we'll talk more about them. We'll give you three mystery players. I want you to tell me yes, maybe, or no to those definitive, to those players later in the show. And then at the end of today's show, we're going to talk about different events, different functions, different things. And I want to ask you, is it okay to show up alone to these events? We'll talk more about that on the other side. I'll explain what I mean on the PHLY Phillies podcast. But here is what's coming up on today's show. As I said, we'll talk about those mystery relievers later in the program. But we're going to start today with a conversation about Adolis Garcia. We'll also talk about the Brandon Nimmo from Marcus Semien trade. And then again, the righty reliever pool we'll discuss in just a little bit. But let's start today's show with the big name, which is Adolis Garcia. I think at least in terms of Philly's sake. I was talking to Ethan before the show, and I said, I think the biggest news in baseball is probably the Semien and Nimmo trade. But I think in terms of the Phillies specifically, this makes the most sense to start. Because I want to ask you a question. Am I getting too picky at this point? Am I getting too, going through it with a fine-tooth comb to decide which right-handed power bat I want the Phillies to acquire? Because it's not like the Phillies have a whole lot of internal options. The Phillies need a right-handed bat and a right-handed power bat in a big way. Most of their home runs came from the left side last season. In fact, their highest home run hitting right-handed hitter last year was Nick Castellanos. He had 17. That ranked fourth on the Phillies in home runs last year, behind Kyle Schwarber's 56, Bryce Harper's 27, and Max Kepler's 18. Nick Castellanos had the fourth most home runs. As a unit, they had just 85 home runs from the right side, which was the fifth fewest in Major League Baseball this season. Only the White Sox, Pirates, Guardians, and Nationals had less home runs from the right side than the Phillies did. Now, I will say it's not without understanding context. The Phillies were a left-handed heavy team and a left-handed heavy power team. At that, their 127 left-handed home runs ranks 4th in baseball last year. Only the Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees had more. But the thing is, now this is maybe not fair to say because you could say, well, Shohei Ohtani had 55 left-handed home runs, or fill in the blank had X amount of left-handed home runs for the Mets or the Yankees, right? But when you point out that Kyle Schwarber had 56 and Bryce Harper had 27, two players on the roster accounted for 83 of their 127 left-handed home runs, which is good for 65.3% of just their lefty home runs, and it's 83 of their 212 home runs in total. That's going to happen for a lot of teams. Most sluggers hit a bulk of the team's home runs, but the point that we're trying to pinpoint here is that not only were the Phillies lefty heavy to begin with, most of their damage from the home run theory came from just two players, Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. The reality is there just was not a ton of power outside of those two guys, to the point where Max Kepler was your third leading home run hitter, and by the way, also a lefty. So if you want to add him to the mix, we are now talking about 102 of their 212 home runs came from three left-handed hitters. So with that being said, Adolis Garcia should help the Phillies lineup, especially in balancing left-right power. Right? Well, maybe not. There's no question about it. He hit 19 home runs last year. That's statistically true, which would have been third on the team. It would have been better than Kepler, and it would have been more than Nick Castellanos. But the guy that you remember from 2023 is probably gone. The hero of the 2023 World Series, the guy that hit 5 home runs in 7 games and had well above a 1 OPS, the guy that hit 39 home runs that season and drove in well over 100 RBI, probably doesn't exist anymore. He'll be 33 when the season starts, which obviously is not old for this team, but when he's not, we think about being the same player at 33 that he was at 29, that's just not a reality. I will start by saying this. The average doesn't concern me nearly as much as the rhetoric that I've seen on social media over the last couple of weeks. There is no question about it that Adolis Garcia hits for low average. Hit 227 last year, and it's no doubt that I would love for him to hit closer to 250 or 255 than he did the 227. What concerns me more are the other numbers in that slash line. First and foremost, the OBP is way too low at 271. For a guy that walked at a decent rate in 2023, he certainly doesn't walk anymore. But the two numbers that really stand out to me are the slug and the OPS. The 392 OPS, last season dropped from 400 in 2024 from 508 in 2023. His OPS dropped well over his slug, has dropped well over 100 points in the last 3 seasons, which in turn changes the OPS, which was 836 in 2023, down to 665 in 2025. Now you see the Baseball Savant reference page, or the Baseball Savant page there. It's a lot of blue. There's still a little bit of red and some good numbers in terms of barrel rates and hard hit rates and things like that. But I think the most discernible difference on his Baseball Savant page come in a couple of different categories. So let's take a look at Adolis Garcia's 2023 Baseball Savant page versus his 2025 Baseball Savant page to give you an understanding of exactly the difference that we have seen over those last 2 seasons. 2023 is on the left, 2025 is on the right. And the difference there, I think the biggest difference are the barrel rates and the hard hit percentages. First and foremost, the barrel rates and hard hit percentages have both dropped by about 20%. Now, they're still good. They're still in the 72nd and 70th percentile, but for a guy that was in the 96th and 92nd percentile just a couple of years ago, that is a pretty significant drop-off. The other part that worries me even more is the bat speed dip. In 2023, he was in the 71st percentile of bat speed at about 72.6 miles per hour. Now, in 2025, that bat speed dropped to the 49th percentile and is down to 72.1%. So not only is it telling me that his offensive numbers, just statistically speaking, are going in the wrong direction, his bat is slowing down as well. And I get it, like a half a mile to a mile doesn't sound like a lot, but for a guy who is predicated on hitting the ball hard and squaring it up with the barrels, he's going in the wrong direction. Now, his chase rates have always been relatively high, which as Phillies fans, I think we've probably bemoaned once or twice about several dudes on this roster, but they've gotten worse and worse as the years have gone on. Go back to 2023. Again, we're comparing a career year to a down year, but when you go to the 42nd percentile, which is below average to begin with in a career year, he dropped to the 17th percentile in 2024 and the 10th percentile last year in 2025. His RBIs are diminished across the board, and now that's not entirely all his fault. That's a tandem between Garcia himself and the Texas Rangers as a whole. See, the Rangers last year scored 684 runs. Compare that to 2023, 881. That is a 197 run difference, which comes out to 1.21 runs per game. That is an insane drop-off. The team as a whole has struggled to find its offensive identity that it had in 2023. The promise of Jonah Heim, the promise of Evan Carter, Adolis Garcia, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager. That was a feared unit in 2023, was not the same in 2025. Non-tendered Adolis Garcia, non-tendered Jonah Heim, traded Marcus Semien. This is a team that had a lot of expectations after getting and winning the World Series in 2023 that they have not matched since that season. And Adolis Garcia is a big part of it. Last year, the last thing that I'll add before we get to the question of are you interested? His year against lefties last season was terrible. He hit 199 against left-handed pitching last year and slugged just 357. He struck out in 32% of his at-bats against left-handed pitching. Now, we know that his defense is still very strong. He has an absolute cannon attached to his arm, and he makes some unbelievable, spectacular plays in right field. He ranked 17th among 89 outfielders in 4-star plays made this year at 62.5%. What that means is it's a play that is going to be projected to be made between 26 and 50% of the time. He was one of the league's best in terms of outfield. He had a 2 fielding run value, which ranks just outside of the top 10 amongst right fielders. There were 86 qualified right fielders this year. He finished 12th. And his 16 DRS, again, stays amongst the league's best for outfielders. He's an incredible defender with a rocket attached to his arm with offensive metrics that are all going in the wrong direction. So I think what we need to do is separate two key facts. Adolis Garcia is not the hitter that he was 2 years ago. Not even close. And I don't think he's ever going to get back to that form. The second part, though, is he could theoretically provide some juice to the right side of the plate that the Phillies so sorely lack, and a change of scenery might do him good. Citizens Bank Park last year was the 6th ranked hitter-friendly ballpark. Globe Life Park, where the Texas Rangers play, 23rd amongst hitter-friendly ballparks. Adolis Garcia could help this lineup. And if the power gets back to 25 to 27 home runs, I think there's merit to have the conversation because the defense is excellent. But I also do know that every single statistical category tells you he is going in the wrong direction over the last 2 seasons, and I do have concerns that it continues to get worse. So would I take a look at Adolis Garcia? Yes, for the right price, but I'm not overpaying for a guy whose offensive metrics are going in the wrong direction, and I fear that they get worse as he gets older. Let's welcome our second member of today's program into the show. That's our producer, our co-host, Ethan Hartley. Ethan, oh my God. Did you just walk into the surface of the sun? Yes. What just happened there?
This window's not very friendly to me at this hour, so maybe in that instance I do prefer the other studio.
Okay, so for production value, I think you would prefer the other one. So that you don't go blind, I'll ask you very quickly. Interest in Adolis Garcia? And how much, if so?
I put a poll on the Twitter, and the third option I gave was depends on the money, which I think is probably where I sit at this point. And you and I were talking about beforehand. If you know the market is very much out on him, and you can get him for cheap $4-6 million, I'd be all over that because, why not at that
Sure.
point? That, that's a very low risk move monetarily. And at worst, you cut in middle of the season, whatever. If it's like, there is high value and you're talking like more than $10 million, that's where I probably step out at that point.
Well, and the one thing that you and I were talking about right before the show started was if you were to acquire Garcia, which it is only going to cost you money at this point. So depending on how much money, you're not worried about prospects. It's not a trade. Because we talked about him at the deadline. Like, would the Phillies consider making a move? We talked about him last offseason going, hey, the Phillies really need some right-handed pop. I know this dude had a down year. Now we're talking about 2 down years. The question is, it's not, or I guess the conversation is, it's not necessarily just about the money that you're going to pay Adolis Garcia. It's about how much are you going to have to pay Nick Castellanos to play for somebody else. Because if you get him plus Garcia, if that's still $20 million, how much does it make you better? Defensively, no doubt, because Castellanos is a butcher out there. He's legitimately one of the worst metric defenders in baseball. Garcia is a substantially better defender. I think the pop is still there, but Castellanos' numbers across the board are either right there or better than Garcia's were a season ago. And we sat and B and C'd about Castellanos' season. He hit 250. He had 2 less home runs than Garcia did, 72 RBI. His OBP was better. His slug was better. His OPS was better. So, I'm not sitting here vouching for Nick Castellanos, but I do think we have to put into perspective the year that Adolis Garcia just put together was not a particularly strong one. And so I guess if it comes out to be $20 million, like if we're saying the Phillies give Adolis Garcia 10 and they're paying half of Nick Castellanos' contract to trade him somewhere else, which is 10, you're talking about paying Castellanos 20 or paying those 2 guys a combined 20. Nominally, like if you just said, hey, who do you think is a better player? I go Adolis Garcia. If you look at the numbers and dive a little bit deeper, neither of them pique my interest a whole lot right now.
Yeah, you're really just kind of seeing what sticks to the wall at this point, and especially when you put it in that perspective where you are going to have to pay money to move Castellanos
offset Castellanos' contract,
which ideally, is no different than just paying Garcia more, in terms of what it costs to replace the one slot in the outfield that you need to fill in the one spot in the batting order. So this team does need a shakeup. So I would almost at this point rather prefer Garcia just in any case. But again, I'm not
really. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like you're looking to change for the sake of change, which is something that people have called for. Again, we said the defense, mountainous better. We're talking about awful to really, really good. You saw the play he made in Texas against the Phillies this past season. Just an unbelievable defensive grab. But as I said, the 72 RBI to the 75 RBI. Now, Castellanos played in 12 more games, ended up having 40-ish more plate appearances. And the defensive war is what saved Garcia because he's a 2.7 compared to Castellanos' negative 0.8. But Castellanos' average was better. His OBP was 24 points higher. His slug was 6, and his OPS was about 40, a little less than 40 points higher. Again, not vouching for another Nick Castellanos season here. I think it's time to move on from Nick Castellanos. Other than an elite defensive upgrade, I'm not so sure how much more this upgrades the Phillies.
Ray Schumacher brings up a good point that, this is another name into the mix that other teams can consider. Obviously, in this instance, it would be much better to just sign Adolis Garcia for less money than, what it would take to trade for Nick Castellanos, even if it is money being tagged along with them. So, that's more options for teams to consider and subsequently hurts the Phillies' chances of even opening up that spot in the first place.
And that's why every time we go back to the Castellanos conversation, everybody's like, well, what if the Rockies or what if the White Sox? It's like, why would a bad team pay that guy? Well, because you want a veteran presence. This isn't David Justice joining the A's in Moneyball. That's not what this is. Nick Castellanos moving on feels like a likelihood, but it doesn't feel like it's a thanks for taking the guy that we don't want just because your team sucks. Why would the White Sox or the the Rockies pay big money. So if you said to me, hey, the Phillies are going to eat 15 of 20, then maybe, sure. But if you said to me the Phillies are going to eat 8, like I don't see why a bad team would want to acquire a player like that.
I think the only scenario in which it would work out more is if more rumblings came about that a salary floor is going to be implemented and that someone is willing
That's
to
where we keep coming back to is the salary cap floor. But with Castellanos' case, that salary floor won't get implemented until after the CBA is up. And Castellanos' contract is up at the end of the year. So your point is valid on majority of players, but I do think there's also like it's a 1-year deal. That's really what you're down to is a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Like Taijuan Walker, if they'd had 3 years left, you could have maybe said, hey, listen, you need to start taking some money. Take Taijuan Walker. We'll facilitate most of it, but you got to meet us somewhere. With a 1-year deal, Ray's right. I don't know why you'd give up any kind of compensation at this current juncture unless you were desperately in need of a right-handed bat.
100%.
I don't love Garcia anymore. 2 years ago, I was like the conductor of the Adolis Garcia hype train. I loved this dude so much because of all of the stuff that he was able to provide in big spots. There's no question about it. He was an elite level hitter in 2023. And I'll even go as far as saying, I know there was a pretty sizable drop off in 24 in terms of like slugging and OPS and things like that. If you gave me 25 or 27 home runs and 85 to 90 RBI, sign me up right this second. But not the year he produced last year. And not the year that I fear is coming in 2026 as he gets older and his bat speed slows down. So maybe I'm being too picky. Am I being too picky? I'll ask you, Ethan, and then we'll ask the chat as well. Like, am I being too picky? Knowing that the Phillies don't have a ton of really great options in front of them?
It is very hard considering that this team really has their backs up against the wall and that I can understand maintaining a standard at where this team is at currently, but also at the same time, it's a reality check that, this team is right at the end of its line in terms of something needing to happen or it's just going to be another failure.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the Phillies are in on Adolis Garcia?
I'm sure it's being considered as an option.
I have to agree.
It's certainly not the top of their list with, other free agents still being out there. And if Middleton is serious about spending money, he'll figure out a way to really put the cash up front for someone like Kyle Tucker. So.
Second question, how many home runs would he need to hit for you to feel justified in spending $10 million?
$10 million?
25?
Probably.
More?
I think 20 at the absolute minimum.
Because they paid Kepler $10 million on 1 year last year, and he hit 18.
Yeah.
Does he have to get to 20? So is 25 a floor or is 20 the floor?
20 is probably the absolute floor. And I don't know. I can't see 20 and nothing. I would prefer to see 20 and some more consistency.
Yeah.
If he's going to have these inconsistencies like he's had beforehand, I would need to see 25 probably.
So last question. How much value do you put into the ballpark thing? Because it's not a throwaway comment to say it's like you're going from a cavernous stadium to a hitter-friendly ballpark. Last year, he hit 19 home runs. If every ball that he hit was at Citizens Bank Park, he would have hit 22. It's not that much of a difference. Now, the big jump comes in 23. The year in 23 that he hit 39, if he played at Citizens Bank Park, he would have hit 50. That's a major difference. Like, if you would have said he hit 19 at Globe Life and 27 at CBP, then we're having a different conversation. The 3 home runs, I don't know if it moves the needle enough. All right, let's pause. On the other side, we got to get into the Semien and Nimmo trade, and we'll discuss kind of what it means for the shakeup of the National League East. I do want to give you 3 mystery right-handed relievers, all on the, I don't want to say on the cheap, but I think on the cheaper side, because I do think that's where the Phillies are going to be in terms of relief help this year. And then we're going to wrap up today's show with a little bit of fun. I'm going to put Ethan on the spot, and I'm going to ask you these questions as well. It's the PHLY Phillies Podcast. We broadcast live from the Xfinity studio today, and we'll be right back after this. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at Xfinity, because if you are pumped I don't know why you'd be pumped to watch the game yesterday, because what a disaster class your hometown football squad put on. But anyway, if you're pumped to watch next week's game, which is on a Friday, you have to have a setup that works. No lagging, no buffering, no switching between apps. You just have to get the ultimate sports destination. It's our friends over at Xfinity. You find all the best games and your favorite teams all in one place, and the way that you watch becomes next level. It's the perfect fan flex with all of the action right there in your living room. You get incredible picture plus sound enhanced with 4K. You're going to feel like you're at the stadium anyway, and you don't have to worry about battling traffic and buying concessions and paying for parking. You do it right there from your couch, and you get real-time notification and live stats right there on your TV. It is the best seat in the house every single time. So next game day, make sure the big fan in your life isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. And while we're here, let me tell you about one of our presenting sponsors. It's our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Listen, if you're a parent, the holidays are right around the corner, and it is an incredible time to teach your kids a little bit something about money, and that's where Greenlight makes it easy. The Greenlight app is an all-in-one money app and debit card that's made just for you as a family. It helps your kids learn how to spend wisely, save for what matters, and build smart money habits, all while you stay in control. So here's what you can do. You can turn the credit or the debit card on and off with just a little toggle. You can control exactly how much they're able to spend, what their budget is, and you teach them about saving for the future, and then saving for the holidays to buy some gifts for special someones in your life. If you're not a member yet, that's okay. You can open an online account or at any of the TrueMark's 24 branch locations and score an incredible offer, a free custom card with the free Greenlight subscription, a $79.99 value. You get real-time spending alerts, easy control, and instant on-off switch. So make this holiday season a win by visiting TrueMark.com/Greenlight for all the details and get started today. TrueMark Financial Credit Union is federally insured by the NCUA. And as welcome back to the PHLY Phillies Podcast. Tyler Zula, Ethan Hartley, you guys in the chat, thanks so much for being here. As John Peace points out, there's not a whole lot of right-handed bats available right now, which is 100% true. I think you're either ponying up and making a trade, or you're taking what is given to you in the right-handed market, especially if you're looking for a right-handed power bat. It's limited. And so I think that's why Garcia is probably going to have a larger market than maybe we expect. I used $10 million as an example. He was set to make, I believe, 12.5 with the Rangers before he got non-tendered. I'm not sure he gets much more than that. I do think it's going to be a one-year deal with whomever signs him. Maybe a club option for a year two type of deal where year two is a little bit larger of a sum, right? Let's say it's $10 million in year one and $15 million with the club option in year two. But I do think that if you are looking to be in the trade market, you're probably going to have to pony up for a relatively a good player. I don't know if it's going to be a great player. Like acquiring great players this offseason, especially right-handed power bats, it feels like it's going to become a difficult task. The Phillies are in a weird spot right now in terms of, other than running it back, where can they get right-handed productivity from? Unless you're going to spend the big-time bucks. And like that's where you talk about the Pete Alonsos of the world, like we talked about on Friday. All right, so you do have a poll up right now on YouTube and Twitter. And the question is, would you sign Adolis Garcia? Early returns, Ethan?
YouTube, 57% no, 43% yes. That was 14 votes. On Twitter,
Okay.
I was able to add an extra option. This has 31 votes, 25% yes, 32% no, and 41% depends on the money.
I'm in depends on the money category.
I'm also there as well.
I know I just laid out a lot of negative factors to him. Again, if it comes in at $8 or $10 million, sold. I'm in. I'm 100% invested. If it gets up into that 15, 17 range, I have way less interest. Speaking of the Texas Rangers, who seem to headline our entire show today, the Rangers and Mets make a deal last night that sends Marcus Semien to the New York Mets and Brandon Nimmo to the Texas Rangers. And this is our big deal segment of the day. Our big deal segment is brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Mitsubishi. If you're looking for the most affordable 7-passenger SUV in America, CherryHillMitsubishi.com has you covered with the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Now, Ethan, the other day we talked about the potential of the Mets being involved in a Ketel Marte trade if the Diamondbacks were interested in moving him. What this shows me is that the Mets probably, sniffed around on that type of trade, and the Diamondbacks said, no, thank you, we're not interested. And they pivoted. I think it was no secret that the Mets were interested in acquiring a second baseman this offseason. However, I am surprised that it ended up being Marcus Semien. Now, I will say this. Everyone is immediately pointing out the offensive comparisons between Nimmo and Semien. And here they are in terms of like just straight one-to-one comparisons between the two guys when it comes to things like average and OBP and things like that. You see the highlighted nature of this trade. Brandon Nimmo had a better offensive season than Marcus Semien did. Semien, another guy who, much like Adolis Garcia, has not been the same hitter in 25 that he was in 2023. Semien had 10 less home runs, 30 less RBIs. The average was down about 30 points. The OBP was down pretty significantly. The OPS was almost 100 points better. Semien was a 97 OPS plus. Brandon Nimmo was a 114 OPS plus. And, you know, as I said to you the other day, Ethan, like I go on Reddit just to see what fans of the teams think. And there was a big disconnect between Rangers and Mets fans where Mets fans were like, defensive upgrade. We wanted a defensive second baseman and we got one. Semien's still a Gold Glove caliber second baseman, which is true. And the Rangers fans going, well, look at the season that Brandon Nimmo had compared to Marcus Semien. Brandon Nimmo had a much better offensive season than Marcus Semien, which is also true. And then the in-between was like, yeah, but what about the last 3 years? And we have to fall somewhere in the middle where I think this trade works out well for both sides. I think that the Rangers needed a bat that they could plug into the lineup. Probably is going to play left field every day for the Rangers. I would imagine Evan Carter will play center. I'm not sure who's going to play right at the moment, obviously, with no Adolis Garcia, but I think that will be the move, is that Evan Carter plays center and Brandon Nimmo plays left. I think that the Rangers needed a bat. They went out and got a bat. I think the Mets wanted a defensive. And I think that when I say defensive, I don't mean like he's defensive only. Right? Like, I'm not talking about a guy who hits 220 every year of his career. He's just starting to get to the downswing of his offensive productivity. But we know he's still an elite level defender. He finished in the 92nd percentile in outs above average this year and was 38th in baseball in defensive runs saved and third amongst second basemen who qualified. He's still a really good defender. Maybe the offensive numbers have diminished for sure, but I think the biggest value in this trade for the Mets is getting out of the final 2 years of Brandon Nimmo's contract. Marcus Semien has 3 years and $72 million left. Brandon Nimmo has 5 and $96. So not only do they get out of 2 years of spending, they get $24 million. Now, Nimmo's 5 for 101, but I think the Mets are sending $5 million to the Rangers, which, Ethan, sounds so stupid. Over $101 million. They're like, hey, we'll give you 5. Here's like 4.2% of that contract. It just seems so weird that they're like, we'll give you $5 million to offset this trade.
I guess it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing, right? And you're down to 5 for 96.
It is a weird amount, yeah.
But it is like, when you see a trade like that, you expect it to be like, okay, we'll give you $18 million or $22 million. And they're like, oh, we'll give you 5. But they get out of the final 2 years of the deal. They get $24 million to spend over that time frame. Now, listen, it's not like Steve Cohen's hurting for money and the Mets are hurting for money. They just signed Juan Soto a $700 million contract. I expect the Mets to be still in on a Tarek Skubal trade. I expect the Mets to be still in on either re-signing Pete Alonso or signing Kyle Schwarber or trying to go get Kyle Tucker. I expect the Mets to be players. Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, all of these guys are going to be in the Mets' purview. But I think what the big trade about this was to get somebody who can be an everyday elite level defensive second baseman and get out of those final 2 years of the contract. Because Nimmo had a 5 and Semien has a 3, it just opens up more flexibility for them, especially if things get changed after 2027 or before 2027 after this next season with the CBA. I think you're going to see a lot of maneuvering in the next 4 or 5 months to try to set teams up post 2027 or into 2027 post 2026 CBA. I wonder if this had something to do with it too. How do you feel about this trade? Because like 2 years ago, I'd have been like, oh my God, the Mets got Marcus Semien. What a deal. Now I'm like, that's a good move.
Yeah, I think
it helps both parties.
Yeah, I'm a little between that and that the Mets are just trying to do anything they can at this point just to make all the amount of money they're spending worth something. I mean, missing the postseason last year is a pretty terrible look.
Sure.
For year one of this new spending plan that, Steve Cohen is committed to. But I do agree that in the sense of these not very often one-to-one player swaps, they do fill needs that both teams needed.
Sure.
So I recognize that neither of these teams acquiring new players doesn't make sense at all. Like they are acquiring a need that they lacked last year and now pushing that forward into this year. And I think, the objective numbers speak to that. Texas won this trade, which is probably why they felt
offensively speaking.
Yeah, they
Sure.
felt the need to do that, and Semien gets paid a lot more money.
The argument that I worry about Semien, much like with Garcia, much like we've talked about with Bryson Stott in the past, he's 35 years old. His bat speed is in the 8th percentile. Bat speed doesn't get better as you get older. Bat speed gets worse as you get older. You get a little weaker, a little slower. Hand-eye coordination gets a little, unless you're David Ortiz, which, we'll leave it at that. Your bat speed gets slower as your career gets older. And his barrel rates were down. His hard hit rates are down. His average exit velo has never been super, super high, but it was in the, 35th-ish percentile in 23. He's down to the 24th percentile. He does not chase a lot. He doesn't whiff a lot. He doesn't strike out a lot. He walks at a good rate. I think this is a really good candidate for a potential bounce back compared to Garcia because those metrics still feel good. When he hits the ball, it's not hard, but he seems to find space. He doesn't swing and miss a lot. The bounce back at 36 is unlikely, but if I'm saying pick one of the two, I maybe lean Semien a little bit. Plus, knowing the defensive metrics are there, and he's still a good base runner even at 35 years old, I think this is a trade that could be beneficial to both sides. It's an interesting one. It's not one that I expected to be made, but I think it could be beneficial to both sides. That's our big deal segment of the day. It's brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Mitsubishi. Again, if you're looking for the best and most affordable 7-passenger SUV in America, cherryhillmitsubishi.com has you covered with the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. Before we hit the break real quick, Ethan, I still expect the Mets to be big-time players in free agency this offseason. This doesn't change anything in terms of plan. They're still going to spend big-time money. If I said to you, more likely scenario, the Mets sign Framber Valdez, or the Mets sign one of Alonso or Schwarber and another bat. Because I think they're either re-signing Alonso or going to be big players in the Schwarber sweepstakes. They want the power.
I mean, I still think, I don't know.
Because if I were them, my play would be power bat, trade for Skubal. That's what I would. I'd farm system be forgotten.
Yeah, because they've already shelled out a lot of money to some starting pitchers already, so you would like to see that through without wasting the talent. Like Sprout, probably, assuming the rotation is healthy, doesn't make it. So it's when you're stuck in this in-between game, sitting on a player like that is not really helpful for them in the long run. You might as well trade them.
I think the Mets are going to be big players in every, so when we talk about Ranger, the Mets make sense for Ranger Suarez. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it makes sense. Zach Gallen makes sense for them. Framber Valdez makes sense for them. Dylan Cease makes sense for them. Michael King, everybody that's at the top of the list is going to make sense for the Mets. They could use a front-end starter for sure, especially with the unknown about Kodai Senga. But let's pause. On the other side, we're going to get into our mystery player. We usually do our Monday morning GM at the beginning of the show. Let's do the Monday morning GM here later in the show, as we'll talk about 3 relievers that I think could help the Phillies bullpen if they have interest. The question is, how much are the Phillies willing to spend in the bullpen? It's the PHLY Phillies Podcast. We broadcast live from the Xfinity studio today, and we'll be right back after this. All right, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You find out why 90 million users worldwide have teamed up with Bet365 because they are the pioneers of live in-game betting, and you can live in-game bet 78 different sports and live stream 780,000 events each and every year. Your odds and lines change all the time, so might as well get up to date on the best with the best in live in-game betting. That's our friends over at Bet365. And new users right now, use the promo code PHLY365, deposit $10, place place a bet for $5, and you'll get $200 back in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. You can use that bonus bet money on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. Again, you find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. And as we just told you, if you're looking for the most affordable 7-passenger SUV in America, CherryHillMitsubishi.com has you covered with the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander. You can take advantage of an incredible year-end sales event with 0% for 60 months APR financing on their entire 2025 Mitsubishi lineup if you're a Pennsylvania resident. That offer is not valid with trade-in. It is also subject to credit approval by a third party. Not all applicants may apply, but if you combine that offer with the best warranty in the automotive business, 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain, 2 years of included limited maintenance, and 5-year roadside assistance, listen, why settle for lesser terms and a lesser warranty and be on the hook for costly repairs down the road? Stop in today, tell them that we here at PHLY sent you, and you get a $100 restaurant.com gift card just for taking a test drive or completing a trade appraisal. I know people buy Mitsubishis elsewhere. I just don't know why. Stop in today and drive home on your new Mitsubishi, just minutes from all bridges, or available online 24/7 at cherryhillmitsubishi.com. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies Podcast. Haven't had a chance to say hello to everybody in the chat yet, so hello to Stephen Paul, Ray Schumacher, Elephant in the Room, John Peace, Chris Slem. Who else has been here earlier that I didn't get a chance to say hello to? Frank Barber, everybody that's in the chat. And if you're just hanging out and watching, I appreciate you. Broad Street Bullies was here earlier. Appreciate you all for being a part of today's show. Who was it that pointed out our MLB The Show player? I have to go find it. Where's it at? Oh, goodness. I just saw it. Anyway, check out our MLB The Show video. We did that last week. We are starting a zero rebuild lineup. We're just having some fun offseason content. Starting a zero rebuild lineup. And we lost every game in season 1. We were 0-162. But yes, our guy Pat Castle, if he's not on the trade block, nobody's on the trade block. But anyway, thanks so much for being a part of today's show. I want to let you know about some incredible offers that are coming your way in the next week. Our Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals are on the horizon at allphly.com. You're going to get some awesome discounts, some awesome ability to donate and to give a chance to donate to some awesome causes like our friends at Big Brother Big Sister, and of course some chances to have up to 30% off. In some instances, you can save up to 90% off. How about that? I thought it was 30, 90% off, and 30% off a Diehard deal for our Diehards only. More to come in the next couple of days, but check out all of our Black Friday deals on allphly.com. You can rock this hat that I'm wearing, the PHLY Red Phillies looking shirt that I wear all the time. You have the opportunity to do all of that here on PHLY and at allphly.com. All right, let's get to our Monday morning general manager segment, which is where we are going to check in on 3 mystery players, 3 mystery righties, because I think that these are 3 guys that could help the Phillies bullpen in 2026. And as I said, I don't think people are going to like this, but the Phillies aren't going to spend a ton of money in the bullpen this season. They added Joan Duran. I think that they're comfortable with their top 5. I do think that they're going to add, and I think it's going to be more important than the $14 million spent on Joe Ross and Jordan Romano this past offseason, but I do think they're going to add at a lower cost. So what I did was I went to Spotrac, which is one of many contract websites, but it is one that I value, and I found 3 relievers who, according to them, their market value for 2026 is going to be under $10 million. Now, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask Ethan. I want to know your guys' thoughts on all 3 of these relievers. So, Ethan, why don't we get to mystery reliever number 1 for the day? This pitcher made 64 appearances in 2025, pitched to a 3.62 ERA. I don't think that 44 is right. I think I messed that one up. I apologize, Ethan. I think I may have messed that number up there because I don't think it was 44 innings pitched. No, sorry, it's 64 and 2/3 innings pitched. That's my bad. I made this graphic, so my fault. 72 strikeouts, just 20 walks, just above a 1 whip, a 1.02 whip. Did give up 46 hits. The issue, that last line you're going to see a recurring theme is a downside statistic or trend, was in the first percentile in ground ball rate in 2025, which obviously, Ethan, did not play well at the ballpark that this guy pitched at, and I don't think it's going to play well at the ballpark at Citizens Bank Park. But you see a lot of red there. There's a lot of good. generates a lot of chase, gets a lot of swing and miss, gets a lot of strikeout value. I think his computer numbers were better than his season. And the reason that I think this guy is going to be available is because his 2024 was way better than his 2025. He had 103 strikeouts in 84 innings in 2024. That number came down to 72 over 64. The whip was up. The ERA was up. I think the velos were down just a little bit. Chase rates and whiff rates were down. They were good in 25, but they were down compared to 24. I think this guy, and according to Spotrac, this guy is his market value is just under 10 at 9.9 million. I think this guy's going to get more than his market value. With that being said, do you have interest in this player?
So,
by the way, all three of these guys that we're going to mention are right-handed relievers.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're in the market for a lefty.
So my thought with first percent and ground ball rate, this doesn't imply, or maybe it does imply more so, that do they give up a lot of home runs? Is that kind of...
This player gave up 10 in each of the last 2 seasons. So he's given up 10 home runs in 149 innings pitched. So he's given up 1 every 14.
Okay.
That's not a bad number.
Yeah. For a little more than 10?
I would say, again, Spotrac has him at 9.9 in fact. I think he's going to get a little bit more than that. Because last year was a good year. It just wasn't as good as the year prior.
It's so tough because my first thought is also, let me see the other 2, and then I'll pick between one of them, but I obviously can't do that.
Really 2-pitch mix. Sprinkles in a cutter and a slider, but he's mostly fastball changeup. I'll give you the splits really quickly just to give you an idea of, obviously, mostly changeup goes to against the lefties, but he threw 100 of them against righties. Opponents hit 129 off the changeup last year. 27 strikeouts, just 5 extra base hits on the changeup. It's a good pitch, but mostly a 2-pitch pitcher.
1 year, 10, probably. I could get behind that more than some. You give me a little bit of a teaser into the rest of them. I'm curious who this is.
This is Luke Weaver from the New York Yankees over the last 2 seasons. Since converting to a relief pitcher, he's been significantly better. Gives up some hard contact. 90 miles an hour on average last year was his average exit velo, just the 30th percentile. But again, his metrics were better than what his season told you. Like his expected average was 195, expected ERA 2.98. I expect this guy to get paid pretty handsomely. I have a lot of interest in Luke Weaver in the middle of the Phillies bullpen. I would put Luke Weaver in between Orion Kerkering and Joan Duran.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Yeah, he was pretty good last year, and I think even better in the first half, and then kind of tailed off a little bit. So, I mean, obviously some work to be done there, and whatever that might have caused that, long-term fatigue, whatever that might be. But I don't mind it.
All right, so let's get to pitcher number 2. Mystery reliever number 2 made 49 appearances last year. Didn't qualify. That's why you see some of the Baseball Savant page blurred out. But a 2.98 ERA, pitched 42 1/3 innings over those 49 appearances. Low walk rate, just 8 walks in 49 appearances, 43 strikeouts. The whip is a little bit high because he gave up over a hit per inning pitch. The negative on him, he will be 40 in the 2026 season. So you see the good. Obviously, again, it's a little bit blurred out, so it's a little bit harder to see on this one. The good for him generates a heck of a lot of chase, doesn't walk anybody, just a 4% walk rate. Everything else is average or slightly below average, keeps the ball on the ground significantly more than the other guy, but obviously lacks some of the other intangibles, or the other tangible stuff, which makes sense. He's 40 years old. And no, it's not David Robertson, I promise you.
Yeah, he's older than 40. I think by profile, I don't know. The age is so hard, but the numbers are fine. I mean, especially low walk rate is something I always appreciate, and having much stronger command in your very limited appearances.
Last 3 seasons, 1.05 ERA, 3.45 ERA, 2.98 ERA, ages 37, 38, and 39 seasons. He's still pretty good.
Is this Kirby Yates?
No, it's a good guess. It's Chris Martin
Oh,
from the Texas
yeah.
Rangers. Signed a 1-year deal with Boston 2 years ago, the last 2 years. He gave up 6 runs in 51 innings pitched in 2023.
He was pretty good.
He's been really good. Cutter, fastball, splitter, sinker mixes in the sweeper a little bit, but heavy cutter reliance. Does a good job of getting both lefties and righties out. The cutter obviously was thrown mostly to righties, having it run away from the righties. Gave up a 310 average to righties on the cutter, but the four seam was much better, 231, splitter 200. Whiff rates were okay. I'm not expecting him to give up a whole lot of swing and miss stuff anymore. But even heading into his age 40 season, I would have traded for him at the deadline last year. Yeah. This was obviously before Joan Duran and all that. Like, I was thinking about piecing the bullpen together. I would have traded for Chris Martin at the deadline last year. He's going to be 40, which obviously is the big knock. But his last 3 years have been really good.
Yeah, and if he can, still show that velocity is up and, not having the kind of typical tail off that a lot of pitchers have, I wouldn't mind. I can't imagine he's
his projected value $6.7 million.
I'd do that, yeah.
I think I'd go up to 8 with him.
Yeah.
All right, last player. Here's the interesting one. This is the last player. These numbers all come from 2024 because he missed the 2025 season with a shoulder injury. 69 appearances, a 3.15 ERA, 46 strikeouts, not a lot of swing and miss, 1.18 whip. Did give up 51 hits. The thing he does well is he has a heavy fastball. He throws very, very hard, does not get barreled a ton, keeps the ball on the ground, but does not generate a whole lot of swing and miss. This guy, you're banking on A, returning from injury, and B, keeping the ball out of the air in a pitcher ballpark at Citizens Bank Park. His market value is all over the place because of the injury. I've seen as low as $2.5 million. I've seen as high as almost $9 million.
Wow.
I'd be interested to see if he gets a major league deal. I think he might. But what do you think about reliever number 3?
The keeping the ball in the ballpark in a very hitter-friendly ballpark is very concerning. Injuries are really tough to judge. Especially from an outsider, not being someone who actually knows what is happening and in these recoveries and diagnoses. I'd still probably go 3rd on the list.
Sure.
Out of the other two.
So, like I said, this guy had a really strong 2024. Was crucial to his team down the stretch.
Well, who was the team?
The Detroit Tigers.
I'll know it when you say it, but it's not.
This is Jason Foley, who was generating a ton of interest at the trade deadline 2 years ago. They were having a ton of back end of the bullpen issues. He really stepped up in a big way. Obviously they kept him because they went on the run and then didn't pitch last year. He is going to be 31 during the season, younger than the other two guys. But you're talking about having to take a chance on a bounce back shoulder injury, much like you did last year, not a shoulder, but last year you did with Jordan Romano.
I'm not opposed still.
If you had to rank them, how would you rank them? Is it 1, 2, 3 the way we featured them?
Definitely Foley at 3. I could go back and forth between Martin and Weaver.
Okay.
Obviously there's going to be a lot more offers and attention for Weaver compared to Martin, so I can understand that if the money gets too high, you back off because, the last thing I want to do is overpay somebody and they flop. But, I like both of those
Look
options.
at you, business savvy. Stay out of the red is a good thing. You just passed Business 101.
Very, very interchangeable. It really depends on the circumstance.
Weaver intrigues the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I would sign up for Luke Weaver right this second.
Mm-hmm.
Martin's age, obviously, a little bit concerning, but he's pitched well.
Mm-hmm.
Foley, you're asking for a bounce back season.
Yeah, which it really depends on medicals, and
sure,
we don't have access to that.
Sure. All right, let's pause on the other side. I got to ask you certain events. Is it weird or not to attend these events alone, Ethan? I'm going to ask you on the other side. I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. It's the PHLY Phillies Podcast. We broadcast live from the Xfinity studio. We'll be right back after this. All right, whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win on the BetParx online casino app. Check out some of their incredible new games like Huff and More Puff and Fireblaze Sky Queen. It's just part of the reason it's the only app I would ever use to play all of my favorite casino games right in the palm of my hand. You can play blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and incredible hot online slots like Cash Eruptions, and some slot games based on your favorite streaming shows like The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. And how about this? Right now, new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Head on over to betparx.com and download the app right now. Enjoy all the action and the excitement from the casino right there at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play, you play to win, you bet. BetParx. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, if you're thinking about getting into the winter months, as we are now rapidly approaching, if we're not already there, and you have to worry about your heat, is it working properly? That's something you probably should have thought about a little bit ago. But if you are worrying about it now, you call our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services, because they're the trusted pros that get the job done right the first time. The last thing you need is to worry about, is my old heating system not producing enough heat to keep us warm at night? So whether it's a heating tune-up or plumbing fixes or something more serious like emergency repairs, their experts handle it all with no guesswork and no stress. It's just local pros who get the job done right with satisfaction guaranteed. So find the help you need for your next home project at acehardwarehomeservices.com. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies Podcast. Tyler Zula here, Ethan Hartley with us, and you guys hanging out in the chat. All right, I want to ask you guys, the chat and Ethan too. I'm going to a concert tomorrow night, and there was a chance that I ended up going to the show by myself, which is something that I've done before. It's something that I've talked about on this show before. And initially, the first time I ever did it, it was weird, or I thought it was going to be weird. Turned out it wasn't weird. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I did things at my own pace. I went and enjoyed the music. I went and saw the bands that I wanted to, and I skipped out on the first band because I didn't really have any interest, which, by the way, support live music. Go see bands if they're playing, or artists. Don't do what I did. But anyway, I thought it was going to be weird. It wasn't. And there was a chance that I was going to do it again tomorrow night. One of my buddies is going to the show with me now. So I'm avoiding it. But I have a couple of different scenarios, Ethan, that I want to ask you and I want to ask the chat. Is it weird to attend these events by yourself? So the first one is a concert. I say no. I've been to concerts by myself. I enjoy it. It's something I will do again. To you, Ethan, is it weird to go to a concert by yourself?
So it's funny how you asked this, because I grew up as an only child and was very socially awkward. So I had to not bend the knee, but like really curve the line to just learn how to do things by myself and not be so dependent on other people. So I have a feeling that whatever you tell me is more so like past my own social line. And just like, it's my own free will. I'm going to do it if I want to.
So it's funny that you say that, because I was putting this list together and I was talking to some people behind the scenes, and I was like, I'm interested to see what Ethan says, because I know he and I's personalities are a little bit different. And this is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be introverted or extroverted or anything like that. Yeah. You be you and be you. Like, that's totally cool. But I know in our interactions, I am a little more extroverted than you are, just by our sheer natures of how we live our daily lives. So I was curious to hear your thoughts on some of these events, because I have a line, and I think your line is probably a little bit further to say, yes, I would do it by myself. Is that fair?
Yeah. And especially, I mean, yeah, to me, it's just like, it doesn't, I've been there where I don't do things because I don't have someone to do it with.
Sure.
And it's not fun to do so, or not fun to feel like the FOMO afterwards. So it's to me, it's just like, you always might as well go do it, just because you're never gonna. I'm
a big believer too with the concert specifically. Once you're there, everybody's there to see the artist.
Yeah, no one cares.
I've probably stood next to people a million times that are there by themselves, and I had no idea, because I'm there to see the music. I'm not talking to each other. This isn't a social interaction.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see the rest of the list. But before we do that, I want to say thank you to everybody on our streaming services, our Roku, Samsung, Xfinity. We love you. We thank you so much for being a part of today's show. Head on over to allphly.com to watch the rest of today's show. It's officially time for overtime. All right, so I started with concert on purpose, because that's a real life scenario that almost happened. I'm going to ask you 5 more. Is it weird to go to the movies by yourself?
No, and even less so than a concert.
Okay, so you would rank movie ahead of concert.
Not thinking from the sense of myself, just like in a more, I mean, it's not objective, but like the social bubble.
Sure.
Because I mean, it's dark. Everyone is literally
Facing forward.
Yeah, like it just shouldn't be. It shouldn't be weird.
Okay.
And I don't know how it even can be weird.
I agree with you.
Because like it seats that face forward. Are you really like turning around, like looking at other people?
What do you think about the movie? Haha, good scene, right?
Yeah, like no.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Go to the beach. Weird or no?
I'd be bored.
I've never done it, but I do see people do it.
Yeah. I'd be more bored than wonder if it's weird or not.
Are you not a sit still guy? Like the beach, I love going to the beach and doing nothing. I remember being as a kid and being like, why does my mom go to the beach and just like sit there and read a book? I love it. Sit and take a nap in the sunshine. It's great. Doing it by yourself, I don't know if I would go to the beach by myself.
I think that for me, Futz mentioning Pat Egan is very concerned about this answer.
Pat goes to the movies by himself like 4 times a week. He is the ultimate go to the movies by himself.
Yeah. I think...
And I get your point, John Peace, right? Like, it has to be an appropriate level movie, right? Like, if you're...
I guess. I mean...
I think that there's this...
do you think Pat Egan's going to be going to Disney movies when he's 45 by himself?
I don't know. I can't. You can only ask Pat that question.
I mean, I would think so.
But, like, if you go to see... Like, if I were to go to see... I don't know. What's out right now? I'm just do this on the fly. Movies in theaters. What's out right now? Like, if I were to go see the new Running Man by myself, that's a little bit different than me going to see, like, Zootopia 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. When you put it that way, well, like, what you're seeing plays a role. Yeah.
Okay.
I can certainly get behind that.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's get back to the beach. Going to the beach weird? I think it is. But I know a lot of people who have no issue with it.
I don't think it's weird, but I do think if you're going by yourself, there is so much work to be put in to do it and what you have available to do so by yourself. Like, if you're really going to sit there, like, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like doing it by yourself and then not having, like, anything else to do.
Sure.
Like, you know, go in the ocean, but then someone could take your stuff. Like I don't know. Those are just things I think about.
This is something I've done before, and I loved it. You play a round of golf by yourself. I thought it was so much fun.
Yeah,
I worked on my game. I just was in my thoughts. I had music. Yeah. I played around. I like playing a round of golf by myself.
Yeah, shouldn't be anything wrong with that.
Okay. Would you go to an amusement park by yourself? This is a no for me. Just
Why?
because, like, I think amusement parks are best shared with other people.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's weird. I just think it's like, I want to ride the rides with somebody else. You know what I mean? I want to see the shows with somebody else type of thing.
Yeah. I get it. And especially, I would say to this, waiting in the lines by yourself, not talking to anybody, probably makes it.
Yeah, you're just going to, like, scroll your phone.
Yeah, so much more of a drag for then, like, the 2-3 minutes of the ride that you're on. Whereas, like, if you're in the line with somebody, then you're talking, planning, like, having a good time, like, stuff like that.
Okay.
Like, so.
2 more. Sporting event by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you're there to watch the game.
It's kind of similar to going to the movies. You're there to see the movie.
Yeah.
Last one. Dinner at a restaurant at a table. Like, not going to the bar. Like, I think it's different if you say, I'm going to go up to the bar, get a bite to eat and a beer and sit at the bar and whatever. Like, specifically asking for a table for one.
I never worked in food. I feel like that'd be the best, like asking employees, I guess, what they thought in that instance.
I
wouldn't really.
I would imagine that they don't want to seat you at a 2-top as a one person.
Yeah.
It's lost revenue. Mm-hmm. And it's tips out of their pockets.
Yeah.
I would think the dinner at the table by yourself is the least like if I were to rank these at the bottom, like I would not do it, is go to dinner by myself and sit at a table.
Yeah.
I'd go to the bar. I've done that before, where it's like, oh, I'm off of work and my wife's working and nobody's available. Like I just want to grab a bite to eat. I'll sit and watch the Phillies or something. That's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think sitting at the restaurant table by myself is not something I would do.
Yeah. I can certainly understand that.
All right. So if I were to rank these, I would go from most likely to least likely: concert, round of golf, movie, amusement park, beach, dinner by myself.
Pulling up the list.
And sporting event probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. At the top, I'd probably tier these. So like tier 1, like
movies, tier 1.
No problem with it at all. Like concert, movie,
round of golf.
Round of golf and sports. And then I'd put like dinner probably last.
Mm-hmm. And Ray Schumacher brings up a good point. I think there's a big difference between going to breakfast and dinner by yourself. Breakfast by yourself can just be like a chill wake up thing. Yes, I do. Because breakfast is very low expectation. You're getting a plate of eggs or a sandwich, some coffee. Like if I go to a diner, let's say me and you go to a diner for breakfast and we order a basic breakfast. Let's say we get some eggs, some toast, some coffee. Bill's going to come out to like $25. So the difference in tip of me versus me and you, when we talking $1.50.
Yeah.
Dinner could be appetizers, round of drinks, desserts. That's where it starts. That's where, as a restaurateur, people would start to get mad, I think. But I think that the breakfast and dinner split is very, very different.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just on my mind today because I was thinking about potentially going to the concert by myself. I was like, what else would be weird?
I think,
or what else wouldn't be weird, I should say.
Some comments in chat bring up bowling.
I've never done that. I don't think I have an issue with that because I'm playing the whole time.
Yeah.
Like I would imagine if I was if I don't bowl very often, but if I did, like I got to go practice.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, I feel like there'd be more of an incentive because then you're just not waiting for other people to finish. Like you go with the group of four.
Well, I will say this too. I don't like bowling in large groups because I'm way too competitive and people want to like sit around and like laugh it up and have a good time. And I'm like, no, I'm here to win.
Yeah.
If I'm bowling, the most amount of people I want to bowl with is 2. Like I don't want that like 8 person party where we got 2 lanes and it's like, oh, I'll just take my turn on your lane. No. Get out of my lane.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm bowling, me and one other person.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Do you think, Ray Schumacher asks which concert is it, do you think the music plays any hierarchy?
I do think the music plays a big part. So for example, the band that I'm going to see tomorrow is a band called Fit for a King. There's going to be mosh pits everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's not even them necessarily. The opening band is like very much even heavier than them. Mm-hmm. I'm expecting to get karate kicked in the face tomorrow, basically. Yeah, that's where it's at. But the point is, like, if I'm in a mosh pit, I'm going to lose my buddy at some point tomorrow anyway.
Exactly.
That's just how these shows go.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm at, like, if I went to go see, I don't know, like a singer-songwriter, right, where it's more chill vibes, maybe that's a little more awkward.
Beach House is the first example I thought of because when I saw them, I don't think I moved once, and nobody moved once because everyone is standing there like
just
enjoying
listening to the music, right? It's a vibe.
Yeah, and I have been on the other side where it's like, yeah, you're losing your buddy, so it's like, what's really even the point?
Sure.
Maybe like, I guess.
And I also think too, it depends on the seat versus the GA show.
True.
I think GA show is way more to going by yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're moving around the floor anyway. You're doing all this stuff. If you have a seat and you're just kind of like, this is good. I like this.
Yeah.
Maybe it gets a little weird.
Yeah. I would even mention to shows where it gets more rowdy, like going with somebody for safety purposes.
Sure.
Like if you are able, and I mean, the more I go, the more experience I get. So I know kind of what to
expect.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
like I know going into tomorrow's show, like I got to watch out. I got to I got to maneuver. I got to watch my ribs a little bit, right? Because you're going to get shot.
Yeah. And it is a huge difference when you're in that situation and you're with somebody that you know around you versus not. Because I've been there, like in one of those rowdy mosh pits by myself, and it's a different beast.
No, for sure.
Just because I'm I'm not relying on strangers, but I have to be. So if I don't like fall over,
Ray, you find me a fit for an autopsy show, we'll go together. I'm in 100%. Joe Bad is one of my favorite deathcore vocalists ever. You find me that show, you let me know, we'll meet up, we'll go. 100%. Not even remotely kidding. I will go see Fit for an Autopsy with you. At that point, it's going to end today's show. Elephant in the room. I'm sorry, we're way overdue. We don't have no Philadelphia today, so we can just chat. Yeah. Elephant in the room brings up one more. Going to a wedding. Like if you get a solo invite. So I will actually say this because I have never felt more bad. I invited a buddy from college on a solo invite to my wedding because he had just very recently started dating his girlfriend at the time. They're married now, and it makes me feel even worse. But they had just started dating, and I didn't know. I've never met her at the time, and I only invited him. And I still, to this day, feel awful about not giving him a +1. So, like, going to a wedding solo, I think, is probably very strange.
Why do you feel like?
Because I think he could have had a better time. Like, I think he had a good time. I think he could have had a better time, like, if his significant other was there.
Yeah. I could see in that perspective that it's brand new and like there's a uncharted boundary to that or not a very frequent boundary. That's just me personally.
Okay. Understood. Real quick before we get out of here, Broad Street Bullies in no particular order. I know you bring up Alex Terrible. My top 3 in no particular order does not include Joe Bad, but I love him. Top 3 all time: Will Ramos, Phil Bozeman, Mitch Lucker. They're my top 3 deathcore lead singers, and then you can start getting into, like I said, Alex Terrible and Joe Bad and all those type of dudes. But Mitch Lucker, Will Ramos, Phil Bozeman. Those are my top 3, and that's how we'll close out today's show. If you're not a deathcore fan, you're like, what the bleep is he talking about? But that was specifically to you, Broad Street Bullies. Thanks for liking the same music I do. All right, we'll be back on Wednesday for another edition of the PHLY Phillies podcast. We'll probably be back in the other studios, but actually, no, I lied. We are going to be on remote. Yes. We will be here at the Reading Terminal Market. And I believe our show is going to be a little bit early. No definitive times, but I believe tentatively 11 o'clock. 11:30. 11:30, we will be on the air at the Reading Terminal Market. So if you're off or you're down in that way, you work that way, come hang out, come say hello. We'll be here. If you're not and you don't get a chance to catch us, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the holiday. We will be back on Friday in the studio if you don't catch us on Wednesday. But the Reading Terminal Market show on Wednesday is where we will be live next. I'm super, super excited about it. All right, coming up later today, the PHLY Eagle show at 2 o'clock. The Flyers at 6:30 for a pregame show, and 9:30-ish for post-game show. And again, we'll be back on Wednesday for a Reading Terminal Market show. We love you. We thank you. Thank you for being in the chat today. Thank you to Ethan Hartley for producing and letting me go 10 minutes over because we were rambling about nothing incoherently. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you Wednesday on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.